coffee because Grey Knight's just, at the moment, I can't have any more caffeine or I'll just have an aneurysm or something. Anyway, I'm recording. We're away. We're having fun.
Yeah, you wouldn't want that psychic backlash. You wouldn't want your brain to explode. Definitely
Dude,
not.
That's another thing I miss. Is a psychic backlash table or something like that. Some danger in doing psychic powers. Please.
There should be a risk. There should be a risk, right? And then conversely, if you're more skilled, it's less of a risk, and then you feel good about that. But things can still go bad.
Exactly, things can still go bad. Same thing with deep striking. There should be like 2 or 3, forces who are really good at deep striking. Really good. And the rest should be like, there's risks. You can have mishaps. You can do, different things. And I don't know, man. Yeah, I want complexity. Anyway, today's video is about the Grey Knight. It is the last. Well, on my channel, it's the last in a trilogy of videos, and on Kaifa's channel, it's going to be an exploration into what the Grey Knights, maybe what their potential is, what they could be, and maybe Kaifa. One thing I respect about you and your channel, man, is that you're always looking to do a solution to the problem. It's not just here's the problem, whine. It's here's the problem and here's how I'd fix it. So we're going to attempt to do that today.
I think it's fun. I think it's a fun thing to do in the hobby, just in general. Just flip the script, change things up, make a weird mission.
I have to say, for Grey Knight, our work is cut out for us, because Games Workshop seem absolutely determined to. Okay, I'm gonna tell you about the new law. Are you ready for this?
Right, lay it on me. This is hot off the presses. Hot
off the presses. So, on Titan, there is a hall of heroes where all of the dead Grey Knights go. Right, when the Grey Knights are recovered, and weirdly, they nearly always are, because we very rarely hear of them losing against demons and things. They're normally just like chewing through them. But when a hero does fall, they're taken back to Titan, and that's where it goes. There are thousands of dudes down there, sleeping the eternal sleep. All dead, all, with their deeds on the wall and things like that. The new Grey Knight Codex, the law is, those bodies have disappeared. We don't know where they are. They've been stolen. Somebody's stolen. Somebody has gotten onto Titan, one of the most defensible and redoubtable and secretive places in the Imperium, and just stolen thousands of Grey Knight corpses. Now, a lot of people have said, oh, this is going to be some really cool Legion of the Damned style model for the Grey Knights. This is going to be something really cool. Number one, even if it is that, it's dumb lore. And number two, I don't think it is. I think Games Workshop have a really weird hard-on for Grey Knights and making them look stupid. And I think this is going to just be either not resolved, and it's going to be a ha-ha moment of where's our corpses at, or that kind of a thing, or it's going to be some sort of chaos-infused Slaneshi Grey Knights that come back because they've been reanimated and things like that. That's what I think. Or third thing is that those guys are the Terminus Decree, right? So the Emperor is basically saying, I'm coming back from the throne. Please don't let me do that. And so he's reanimated all these dudes and teleported them onto Terra, which would be hilarious because it would solve all the problems. People going, well, you Grey Knights can't do that. And it's like, well, yeah, but 10,000 dead ones can. You know what I mean? Like if there's 10,000 dudes down there who've died over the years, and the Grey Knight goes, yeah, you're all reanimated. You are now Legion of the Damned Grey Knights, and you're going to make sure I don't get up off my throne. Even the Custodies aren't standing up to that. Sorry, they're not. Like 10,000 Emperor and imbued, Legion of the Damned style Grey Knights is not to be sniffed at all. So, and as far as I know, Legion of the Damned are one of the only Psyker things that bypass the System of Silence. They're one of the only things that can actually fully power up in front of them. So, that would be very interesting. But what do you reckon about that? What do you reckon?
For what purpose? For what purpose? It's hard to imagine the gain. Like, is this in service of the Scouring? Are they gonna dangle a plot thread in that novel series of the Emperor already showing signs and the Grey Knights are being found? It's a weird choice to me. Like, why? I would hope to God it's not some situation of corrupted Grey Knights. Like this idea, corrupted Grey Knights, corrupted custodians. I find it so so try hard for making chaos feel edgy, right?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't prefer to see those kinds of design choices.
For me, it's like it's nothing sacred. Power levels are a thing. As CM Punk said the other day, when I was watching wrestling, he said, "There's levels to this, kid. There's levels, right? You need to stay in your lane. Like this is where it should be." I'll read the lore out for you. I'll read the lore out. This is the excerpt. Somebody sent it to me on my Discord. Right. So, by the way, thank you to my Discord. I don't know where I'd be without you because they come across these things way quicker than I do. So, the Chamber of Trials provides the stage for the arduous training undergone by those prospective Grey Knights, while, should they prevail long enough to fight and die in the Emperor's service, the torch-lit catacombs of the Dead Fields wait to receive their carefully cleansed and warded remains. So it has been for millennia, yet in the wake of the Noctis Aeterna, the Great Rift, the Long Night, whatever, a strange phenomenon struck that has left the Grey Knights deeply disquieted. In a single night, entirely unobserved, all remains held within the Dead Fields vanish without a trace. Where they went, or what their power could have been responsible for, such a supernatural theft within the heart of the Citadel remains thus far a tragic mystery the chapter has not yet been able to unpick. Right. So, essentially, somebody stole all of our corpses. One thing I will say is, one thing I will say. Usually I'd say, well, you know what? Like, at least they're using us now. At least we're in the lore. At least things are happening.
Okay.
But also, it's Games Workshop, so that means the Eye of Sauron is on you, and they're going to ruin you. They are. There is a 90% chance they're going to absolutely ruin your lore and make you not want to collect Grey Knights anymore. There's solid chance. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a weird lore update to dangle. I know Games Workshop likes to do those obscure paragraphs that have consequences and model releases later. Like you saw that with, I think, the most recent Phoenix Lord, the Warp Spider's Phoenix Lord, a few codexes back, or maybe even just one codex prior. There was just some obscure paragraph of armor being found. And it might not even been in their codex. I can't recall exactly. It just might have been in a codex. There was some obscure reference to something, right? Something happening on the Eldar side. And then now, new codex comes around for Eldar, new model range, updates, you have a new Phoenix Lord. But it's hard for me to even tie a new... It's not like it's a single character or someone's model or someone's armor in particular. It's not an individual. It's just a whole heap of missing corpses or... Like, these are corpses held in stasis.
Don't get me wrong. You are right. You are right. Like, this is one of those... This sounds like one of those lore threads that could easily be left for like 2 decades, you know. And
but for what? Like, what do you gain from stealing corpses? Okay, like Chaos gets it; they steal, better stock, right? Better stock for Gene Seed or better stock for biomaterial. I can't imagine any Xenos factions having any purpose for stealing Grey Knight corpses. Only
it's going to be probably a Spile or the Dark Eldar.
Yeah, okay, Dark Eldar, maybe, right? If they could put them in fighting... Resurrect them for fighting pits, I guess. I don't know.
No, they're trying to remake the Golden Throne. So with them trying to remake the Golden Throne, they can't get access to the Emperor. So they wanted the access to the Emperor's genetic material.
To get closer to the Golden Throne.
To make their own. To bypass the Immaterium, basically, to make their own.
And they need the Grey Knight's gene seed for that? I'm just...
Yeah. So I'm thinking that so the Inquisition kind of foiled that plot and said no, you're not doing that, because okay, so basically the Dark Eldar say we can repair the Golden Throne, which they probably can, right, with their geneticists and things, but we want some of the Emperor's DNA and things and whatever, and the Imperium were going to do that because they were desperate, and then the Inquisition quashed it, basically said no, killed everybody involved. Okay. That's ridiculous, don't do that.
Understandable.
So I think it might be the Dark Eldar who've done this, and they've taken all of these corpses because they're gonna, scoop out the gene seed, and that will be like the Emperor's genetics that they're going to use to try and do their own golden throne. Maybe it's just something that they've introduced to the lore that they could use, but
it's a weird one. It's a weird plot thread to dangle. I think.
Yes.
It's a bit too vague. It's a bit too like, oh no, this is bad, but I don't know why. I don't know what the direct.
Anyway, see you in 2055 to see if this gets. Yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. Anyway, that's that lore. So I don't know. Maybe we'll incorporate that into the video. Maybe we won't. I don't know. But in terms of what we're looking at, would you like to start with how they've lost their way? Because I know that's something that you had like really lined up there.
Yeah. So basically, the angle of my last video was sort of investigating like the circumstances around like factions which are poorly characterized, and this can be in rules actually it was in rules. We can talk about narrative as well, but it was just looking at for instance, I looked into Sisters of Battle in my most recent video, and like, does dice manipulation, does characterizing them as manipulators, statisticians, serve their themes well of, acts of faith and manifesting miracles and epic acts of God being manifested on the battlefield? I don't think so, personally, right? That's the case I made. And I think similarly for Grey Knights, that's the case as well, because I don't think anyone at this point disagrees with the idea that, like, uppy, downy, here I am, now I'm not kind of teleportation is very emblematic of characterizing that core, like those quintessential themes of Grey Knights, the paladin, right? The paladin archetype that stands defiantly in the face of the worst evils, right?
Yeah.
No, definitely not. The Gates of Infinity army. That's what it's called, right? The uppy downy army rule.
Gate of Infinity. Yeah. It's the you can pick 3 units and then teleport them around, things like that. And it basically allows you to play like Eldar for a bit.
Yes,
for a bit.
I think so, right? Like that kind of like trickery and slipperiness, it reminds me of Harlequins more than than Grey Knights.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Right.
Like, we're supposed to be these. Okay, so Grandmaster Mordrak back in the day. Segue. He was a Grey Knight character who I think he did have rules in the old codex. One of the old codexes. And his special thing was, these things didn't have rules. It was just in his lore. He was surrounded by 4 ghostly paladins, like the spirits of the dead. He would just stand around him as his bodyguard and slash and and do all that kind of stuff. Somebody came into my GW back in the day and they made this unit of Mordrak, like a completely, kit bashed Grey Knight character. He looked amazing, and he's surrounded by 4 ethereal coloured Grey Knight paladins. They were like light blue and burning, and
awesome.
Blue flames coming from their armor and shit like that. And we actually made rules for it. Because we had a tournament where you can have your own. If you bought the units to make your converted model or unit from my store, it would get a special rule, right? So we had one Imperial Fist guy who had 10 linked Breacher's Shield Marines who got 2+ invulnerable save. Didn't do anything else, but if they were deployed in a block, they got that 2+ invulnerable save. Because they're just amazing at that defense.
Right.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, this is right. I love this. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we had this Grey Knight guy who literally, I think he could use them power. He could kill his own ghosts to give himself really high AP on his weapons and stuff. So they get absorbed by his weapon, and then he strikes you with that weapon, and then it takes a turn, and then that guy recharges and comes back right where he was. It's just a really cool thing, like they're empowering his weapon. And I think there was one campaign where he was going up against, I can't remember what it was. I think it was like 3 Bloodthirsters or something. And he said, there isn't anything in my rule that says I can't do it to all of them at once. And I was like, yeah, no, there isn't. Do it. So he just absorbed all 4 of them into his weapon, and it gave it like AP 1. Like this ridiculous.
I love it. That's just fun, right?
Yeah, +4 strength, AP 1, and he just went to town on this guy. And then again, 2 turns later, they all came back, and it was like, this is just awesome. You never win. but it was an epic moment, you know. And it just shows you like the kind of things the Grey Knight should be doing on the battlefield rather than uppy downy teleporty. Uppy downy teleporty is very esports. It's very maneuvering, getting objectives, things like that. You're moving away from the soul of what 40k is, and the soul of what 40k is both players going, damn, that was cool. Right, that's 40k. Right, it's damn, that was cool. You know, like Napoleonic players playing Waterloo and the last stand of the old guard and things like that. They all go, yeah, damn, that was cool. You know, like that's what it's about. It's not about like, well, I captured that point. I captured one more than you, so I get an extra 2 point.
What objectives do I have to do this turn? Well, good thing I have uppy downy, and I pulled all those guys off of the board anyways, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Or it's
Well, that's where the value's couched, right? You can see that whenever people are, framing what this rule is good for.
Absolutely, and it's also the how do I put this? You know, when you're picking up secondaries, people have a go at me because they don't like secondaries, but I don't like the fact that I've got this deck of cards and I go, oh, brilliant, I know I've lost, great, cool. You know, I just like I haven't done that. Like that, you know, why should the game tell me how to? No, go away. I'm the Grey Knight. I'm here to kill demons and big monsters and big dudes. Like, you know, go and take this objective at the other end of the field. Why? Is there a narrative reason? No, then I'm not doing it. I'm just gonna play like Grey Knight. You know.
No, it's definitely something we see eye to eye on, right? Like I much prefer a fixed mission format where that's the narrative I'm entering. Like this is the scenario, right? And maybe there's a twist, but it's not like every turn there's cards to be drawn, and then now whatever I didn't do is invalid. It screams of the designing for a competitive format or a more esportsy format, like you said.
Precisely, yeah, and it's, how do I put it? We have, like, say in Exile Edition, we've got so far, I'm working on every single army will have 5 to 10 missions that you pick at the start of a game, right? So it doesn't matter what battlefield you're on, you choose one of these missions and you show it to your opponent, saying this is what I'm going to be trying to do in this battle, right? And then you go. And you play, and you're both playing different missions, but you're playing the same game. You know what I mean? You try and do different things, but you're playing the same game.
Interesting, yeah. I like that. I like how that sounds.
Yeah, so it's like with the Grey Knights, it's like, you know, select 3 character units from your opponent. Yeah, they have to die by the end of the game, or you basically lose. Like you know, it's a black and white thing. You know, there's no, well, you get 2 points for every. No. If you don't kill these characters, that's what you're there to do. You're the Grey Knights. You're there to get rid of heretics, and these 3 characters are based heretics who are going to turn into demon spawn if you don't get rid of them. Well, they already are demons if you're playing demons. Go and kill them, you know? So that kind of a thing. And again, we've talked about Grey Knights losing their focus, and I think a lot of the on the tabletop, which is where we're starting, I guess, they don't play like Grey Knights. They don't look like Grey Knights. They don't feel like Grey Knights. I can only hope that these lore changes are Games Workshop correcting and going, okay, they don't feel special. Grey Knights don't feel special. And that's our fault, because it is your fault, Games Workshop. You know, you wrote the Months of Shame and things like that. You horrible little cretins, you did this. So if they've said, okay, we need to course correct, we need to make it more special, so we're going to have Primarist-sized Grey Knight paladins who are all ghosts coming back, I'd be like, that's very Grey Knighty. That's very Grey Knighty. I like that. You know, that would be the kind of thing that I'm really behind. I can't see them doing that. I can't see them being brave enough to do that.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a bolder choice for them.
It does.
Redoing the classic set of units in a better scale with modern details or whatever is, I could see that. You know, also, very importantly, you'd also get half the models for the same price. But I can definitely see that. But the more creative angle that you described, with the spirits from beyond.
I mean, that's it. Yeah, it's very. It's almost as if someone's read the Grey Knight lore and gone, oh, there's these things that can happen. The Grey Knights can do. You know, maybe we should lean into that rather than saying, yeah, they're basically jumpy space marines. It's like, well, why? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, in no Grey Knight novel, okay, and this is the point as well, is that in no Grey Knight novel that I've ever read, or lore that I've ever read, do the Grey Knights jump around and teleport that much?
No, they slam in. They slam in, and then once they arrive, you know they're there, right? And they stand defiantly.
They come in to a hopeless situation. Like, the best thing I can think of a Grey Knight doing, right, is one novel. I think it was Pandora, because I can't remember which it was. Anyway, the Guard are being annihilated by Khorne demons, and everything's going wrong. And all of a sudden, blinding silver light, bang! One Grey Knight Paladin turns up. And they're like, oh my god, it's the Emperor's Angels of Death. It's amazing. And they just murder all demons. They're just like, yeah, they're all dead. Right? Cool. Now, there's lots of Chaos cultists there. And the god like, yes, they're going to fight the cultists. They go, nope, and teleport away again. So it's just like...
Not worth it. Yeah, that's fair.
Not our job. It's not our job. There were only 5... So few Grey Knights, there were 5 Paladins with this strike force. That was it. We sent all 5 down. We killed the demons, and now we're leaving. We've got other things to do. Right. You guys deal with all that. You know, so now, you guys are out dead.
So now those inclined will take that example and say, see, they should be going uppy and downy. They'll take that example and use that as the kind of justification to kind of spin and say why the army rule is good. But so the army rule, I make the case that the army rule in an edition for a faction is what's characterizing the faction broadly, right?
Yes.
And that it serves that very important focal point relative to other factions. What is that faction's thing? What defines them, right? This is why I like the Orc-Wa. It's like, perfect. Beautifully simple, but undeniably effective, and it works. Yeah. Very, very orky in that.
Well, anyone saying, oh, last proof that Grey Knights are up and downy. No, it's just proof that the Grey Knights keep forgetting things. Because the Grey Knights teleport once. You know, they teleport in and out. That's it. They do one teleport run. They teleport in, kill the thing, and they teleport out. If they have to teleport back again, then that means they've forgotten something. Right? So, you're no longer cool if you just keep going back. Like, oh, sorry, yeah, I forgot this one.
Yeah,
that one.
I do agree, right? Because, like, what... I like to play this game, right? So what does the spin become, right? How do they try and... How would you try and twist it to fit? I think you'd say, well, now they're needed elsewhere over here. There's another threat that has emerged over on this side, you see? So and I'm like, okay, yeah, you can keep taking this to its nth degree. But choosing to characterize them as a faction that does not slam in, stand defiantly, say, you shall not pass to the Balrog, right? That whole idea is just weaker. That's the strongest, I think, mechanical space, or thematic space you should be characterizing Grey Knights, for sure.
Well, I think...
And taking them off the board is... Yes.
Sacrilege.
It's from an action secondary point of view, very flexible, right? It's strategically flexible to do that, but it thematically weakens that paladin archetype that they stand in the face of it.
If we're going into this, Kiefer, on how we would change them, I can actually go into in depth because I'm rewriting them for Exile.
Yeah, please. So, I would implore you. I usually do like a suggested fix at the end.
Yes.
But I mean, we can put it wherever. It's
more of a gameplay thing rather than a lore thing, which is more important.
So let's do that now then.
In terms of what I'm going to do with them, they're going to be more religious, less scientific. The Grey Knights right now, they look like space sciencey knights, and that's just what they are, right? They're really, really high end, loads of technology. I'd grind that down and say, no, I want throngs of cultists who are all in the Imperial cult. I want priests. I'm going to store in priests who are just like the Grey Knights go and select the absolute mental heads, the ones who actually believe wholeheartedly in the Emperor, to the fact that nothing else is real to them, because that empowers them. They have the Emperor's gene seed, so they have throngs of these dudes just walking around them because it feels good. Like, oh, this feels nice, that kind of a thing. And the Grey Knight army in Exile Edition has those dudes. It has hundreds of cultists in it, and has hundreds of dudes who aren't Grey Knights. If you want to use them as chaff or to hold onto objectives. They will go and scour Imperial Guard regiments for the most devout people the commissars and people like that who are worthy of going to war with them, and they'll select them, put them on their ships, and off they go, sort of a thing, you know? And the Grey Knights know you're pure of heart because they can look straight into you and see it. They can go, right, this guy's got what it takes, right? Come with me. He can't be a Grey Knight, he's too old, but he can fight with us. He can be one of our, you know, and the Grey Knights will have their own regiments of Imperial Guardsmen who are allowed to know who they are. They're indoctrinated. They don't cheer. They don't do any of those war cries. They're all wearing black gear, jumping out of Valkyries and stuff with jump packs and things, like Legion drop troops on steroids. And these are their dudes. So you can have them in your force. In terms of the Grey Knights themselves, you would have, you know, they're very, very, very expensive. You would have 20, maybe, Grey Knights on the field, and they are big thing killers. You want to get these into your greater demons, your primarchs, because essentially the more wounds something has, the stronger the Grey Knights get. So they're not very good at fighting chaff. It's almost like they don't want to. They're like, oh, for God's sake. Do you know what I mean? Just cutting through them. But for them to, like, really power up their weapons and turn force on, because you have to turn it on in Exile Edition, it's an actual thing. If you want to turn force on, you've really got to be going up against the Bloodthirster, any sort of other greater demon, a big monster of the Tyrannid. You know what I'm saying? Big wound things. But the more wounds you have, the more damage the Grey Knights will do to you, because that's generally what they're good at, and that's their thing. They teleport once. They get extreme bonuses the turn they teleport in. That's what they do. So they teleport in, they get, you know, more damage, they get more strength on the weapons, they get more AP, they get a higher charge range. You know, their Alpha Strike is their main thing. They go in, and if they are bogged into a battle, you better make sure they're bogged into things that are either really high toughness or really high wounds, because they will chew through those things. Everything else, not that great. You know, the Grey Knights are a big 1-2 punch, and then they're gone again. You know, I'm even experimenting with a limit to how long you can have the Grey Knights on the field. So you get, like, you know, maybe like 2 turns of Grey Knight involvement. That's all they're there for. They jump in, they're there, they're fighting. 2 turns later, they're gone. They teleport away, right? They're just, yeah, we're done. We've done our thing. We're going. That kind of a thing. But like, then you got to work in the narrative of, well, why are they leaving if there's still things on the field? So I'm thinking, you know, we're probably gonna have like an Alpha Strike target. So you've got to elect a target, and you've got to go for it, or the Grey Knights will just disappear quickly, because they'll be like, okay, well, you know, we can't get to it, so let the yeah. Well, no, they'll say we can't get to it right now, so let the guard do more work, and then we'll come back. Right, that kind of a thing. But it won't be back in your battle. It'll be back in another, you know, another battle off screen.
Right. Okay.
I'm doing the same thing with the Custodies as well. So the Custodies will have vast amounts of chaff who go into battle with them, and then you can call in the Custodies, you know, for a couple of rounds, who come in and they do their thing. They do the heroic thing, and then they leave. You know, that kind of. They're too good for you. They're not. You can't have a whole army of Custodies. That'd be stupid. You know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you're definitely speaking to my language, my preferences here. Whoops.
You know, like even Grey Knights, like you can have a whole army of Grey Knights. Don't get me wrong, but like they won't be. The Paladins especially will not be on the field at the start. Like, they will come in for a special target and then leave. You know, so there may be a combination of those rules where the normal Grey Knights can be deployed normally. But you can only use your Paladins for 1 or 2 turns, but they're really powerful against big, nasty things. That means the rest of your army is basically about cutting away the chaff so you got room to deep strike, that kind of a thing. Which is how the Grey Knights should play. They should be like, use the Imperial Guard, use everybody else to cut me a path to the enemy. And so you cut a path to the enemy, they dive in, and they kill it, and then they leave. That's basically what they do.
Yeah, no, I like I like basically all of it. And remind me, so the mortals units that they're working with, they're not wholesale Imperial Guard, or they're a dedicated kind of arm of the Grey Knights military force.
They're dedicated arms,
specialized for working in tandem with them, that kind of idea.
They're the more a dedicated arm of the Order Malleus rather than Grey Knights. So they'll be sequestered to. So you'll have Lord Inquisitors, you have an entire Imperial Guard regiment following them around. Well, these will be the guys who are sent to aid the Grey Knights, right? They're sent to aid in the Grey Knights doing what they do best.
You get a supporting force of mortals, from the Ordo Malleus. Yeah, that works. And then you have a a set of models to play with to contrast the Grey Knight's power fantasy, right? You have that
Yeah.
softer edge, and those are the units that can start on the board and lay the groundwork and get the engagement going. And then you're freer, you have an easier time characterizing the Grey Knights as that 1-2 punch as you described. They come down, they hit, they don't just go away and uppy downy all game, right?
Well, I'm actually thinking about even calling them Grey Knights. I might call the codex like Order Malleus Task Force, that kind of thing. So, and the Grey Knights are in it,
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're the stars, most
yes.
certainly.
Oh yeah.
I'm with you. That sounds like a great choice. And
it's kind of like having a Chaos army where the Astartes are the stars. That kind of thing. It's the same thing. You are anti-chaos, but you play in a similar way. You've got these, religious fanatics are going to be in there. Ecclesiarchal strike teams are going to be in there. You can even have some Sisters of Battle. They'll be around. Not all of them. There'll be a few of them more. Like Repentia will be in there because they're crazy, so they'll be in there. Anybody who thinks the Emperor is rad and demons suck will be in this codex, essentially. And then you'll have the Ordo Hereticus one, which will have the Sisters of Battle in it, which you were talking about in your last video. And, everyone will act like that. And, of course, you've got Deathwatch, Ordo Xenos Strike Force, Deathwatch. Eisenhorn. He'll actually have a model.
Amazing.
He's, Eisenhorn and his retinue. Can be a part of your force if you want to, that kind of a thing.
Prolific characters from the setting being available for play. Weird.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. But that's how I'd fix Grey Knight in terms of the rules. Like, if you give me carte blanche, which is what Exile edition is, it's go on then. I mean, like, go on then. You said you could do it.
Let's see.
Yeah.
No, I'm into that. Yeah, it definitely seems like already a stronger characterization than the teleporting uppy downy. I recall in one of your videos, like, someone commented, and it resonated with me, like, the characterizing them as, now you see me, now you don't. It takes away the power fantasy, right? It kind of reeks of... It takes away from the heroic moment of coming down to stand defiantly in the face of the horror, the worst horrors of the 41st millennium, right? That's what Grey Knights are there for.
Correct. And I think Grey Knight shouldn't have an army. I know people are going to hate me for that, and I'm a Grey Knight fan, so take it from me. I do think Grey Knight should not have an army, and they should definitely be a part of the game. They should be a part of a wider roster of units, and when they come down, it should be an event like, oh shit. Look at these silver dudes.
Yeah,
they come down and here they are.
Yeah, they're special, right? So it's a less is more situation when you're able to have an army composed as you described with the mortal majority, maybe in terms of models, right? Not of points, but in terms of models. Then they're able to shine better. I think you can make a similar case for Custodians as you. I mean, I've kind of like preached that point for them as well, and probably even Deathwatch and Sisters of Battle as well, right? Like the reality is that Inquisition, that Agents of the Inquisition Codex that GW tried to release is a pretty poor codex, anyways. But that's the right aim, I think. It's just terrible execution, right?
Like so how much of the old editions, like 7th edition, 6th edition, did you play back in the day? Out of curiosity.
I didn't play a lot of older editions. I was essentially just painting and watching battle reports.
Okay. So, in the older editions, there was a feeling that you'd get playing Chaos sometimes, against Chaos, where one of their dudes would just explode into a greater demon or a demon prince. And you'd be like,
perfect example.
Oh, shit. Like, you have that feeling of...
that's a turning point, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
what it should feel like.
Yeah, that should be a big fucking deal, man.
That's what it should feel like. There's 5 Grey Knight Paladins. They just come in out of the warp, bang, right in the center of all your battle line. You should be going, oh no. You should be like, oh no. I know they're only going to be there for 2 turns, but they're coming for my ass. And I know which one of my dudes is they're coming after as well. And this is not going to be pretty. This is not going to be pretty at all.
Yeah, that's a fun design space too, because then you have that cat and mouse element, right? Especially if you're depending on how you work out the rule. Like, if you're marking
Yeah.
specific units of the enemies, then well, watch out, right? It'll make people play very
I think
cagey.
it can be any unit. Yeah. So basically, you look at your opponent's army and you're thinking, what do I really need to get rid of to win this battle? Okay, those are the ones, or that's the one that my Grey Knights are going to go for. Usually it'd be a Greater Demon, or who's holding the force together for demons, or Abaddon the Despoiler himself, or Gilliman, or
Yeah, like a linchpin
really
kind of
unit.
key character. That's ideally big because that's how their buffs work, right? If you have more.
Exactly. So it's the old general pattern. The Imperial Guard forces in the Grey Knight Codex will hold a nose whilst the Grey Knight kick them in the balls. That kind of a thing. Like that's the feel you want to go for with Grey Knights. They're not the army. They're the scalpel. They're the dudes who, in this combined arms force, you bring in to basically deal the killing blow to the enemy. Right? They're there to do the coup de grace. Very much like the Lunar Wolves back in the day. Things like that. They would do the coup de grace. They'd come in and decapitate the enemy force. Which what all Space Marines should do, really.
Yeah, well, they're shock troops, right? That's kinda...
Yeah.
But I guess you have to draw the line, right? Like if you're gonna have several tiers of eliteness of elite armies, right? If Space Marines are the more plain, they're just always on the board. You're playing all 5 turns, then use Grey Knights. If we're gonna
lean into like Grey Knights being different and being special, then okay, cool, that's fine. But the minute you give them their own codex and it's all them, you then can't make them special anymore, because if you do, the game breaks.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because then they're just too powerful for too long.
Yeah. Same with Custodes.
Exactly.
If you give them their own codex, they're not. They can't be special anymore. But if you make the Custodes Codex the Talons of the Emperor,
oh, dude,
and you have
don't get me going. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying though. That's going to be an Exile edition. They're going to be called the Talons of the Emperor. It's going to be the Sisters of Silence and them and the Lucifer Blacks. Who are actually going to have fucking models, please. Right? So we're going to have Lucifer Blacks. All of the regiments that are on Terra are going to be a part of the Talons of the Emperor, and they're not very expensive. The Custodes, 2 models. That's half your army.
Like whatever
half your army.
Personally, I guess a tangent here. I do prefer the mixed squads for Custodes. I think it's a big opportunity Games Workshop is missing out on, not having a Talons of the Emperor unit, a mixed squad of Sisters of Battle and Sisters of Silence for wound diversity, for toughness diversity, and for ability diversity, all mixed in together for like a real Heroes Command Squad kind of anvil unit. That's like, holy shit, this one squad of the Emperor's Talons, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That would be the way to make them shine, right? When you have a whole army of Custodes now, well, for one, that caps the elite ceiling of Space Marines if they're going to be the elite army all the time, because now you have Custodes as an elite army all the time and Grey Knights as an elite army all the time, right? So you're kind of you're making these 2, or in this case 3, different elite factions a bit more unique from each other, and they can shine. I think their themes come across better.
Yeah.
For these changes.
Like your Grey Knights coming down should be a huge moment, and it should be the moment that your opponent fears the most, and they can mitigate it but not stop it. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those where if they're going to win the battle, that they're going to mitigate the Grey Knights coming, the Grey Knights coming down, and that's the Games Workshop version. No, they're going to
killing me.
They're going to try and mitigate them coming down. They're not going to be able to stop them coming down or to stop them doing some serious damage to them.
Right.
But if they can win the battle by the time the Grey Knights come down, they stand a good chance of winning it. Or if they can blunt their strike by putting enough chaff in their way, or if they can, somehow buff their character up to the point where they don't die and they hold out for those 2 turns that the Grey Knights are there for. That kind of it works. By the way, Legion of the Damned, do you know why they're cool? They don't have an army. They're a thing. They're a special event. They're a special unit. They're a special thing. That's the whole point.
Yeah, if Games Workshop makes an army for Legion of the Damned, I suspect the same problem will occur that you're seeing with Grey Knights.
Absolutely
will. Custodes. Yeah, I we know they like power armor of various types and making Space Marines special. So it's very, very plausible. Like, oh god. It's
How would you go about fixing them in the current rules? If you know anything about that, because how would you?
for Grey
Because I've
Knights?
heard that.
Or
I've heard the current codex is good, in terms of rules for 10th edition, but also like I also say for 10th edition it's good, but it doesn't mean it's good for Grey Knights.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
so like I'm sure like I trust the opinions of like most of like the competitive consensus on if mechanics are strong or not, right? I think they are very good at evaluating the potency of mechanics for the game that it's being like the 100-point match play game, right? But yeah, to your point, you're correct. Like just because it works for the rules are very effective. Just because miracle dice are an effective, potent tool does not mean it characterizes the faction well, right? That's kind of my point with the Sisters of Battle video and even this video, right? So yeah, Uppy Downy might be great for doing actions and strategic flexibility in a 5-turn game, but I don't think it's emblematic of the theme you want. I think something like you described. Now I don't think you told me about the mortal element before, but I do think that composition in the army. So we're talking about a very different army here. But I think that does allow the actual Grey Knight idea of these guys who drop in and just own the battlefield, right? Claim dominion. Like that theme comes across much better for what you described. I mean, replacing the army rule with something like you said, the biomancy, like a force check, or maybe it's something passive just based on whatever they're fighting. There's definitely so many different ways you can go about making or abstracting the mechanics. But if it's all coming to serve this idea of the theme that they are about fighting big menacing threats in the galaxy, right? I think that's the right aim for characterizing.
I think the special rule, I'm terming it as something like hammer hand. So when you come down,
of course,
from teleportation, you come down, you deep strike. You get +2 to strength, you get +2 to AP, and all your weapons do one more damage. And if you have a selected target unit that you did at the start of the battle, you gain hatred against that unit. So reroll hits and wounds. So basically, you are for that turn. Holy shit! Like the Grey Knights are here, and they're gonna do some damage.
Yeah, they're pumped. They're raring to go. I think if you're getting into the mechanics a little bit, and we don't have to go too deep, but yeah, if they're coming in, if dynamic entry, so to speak, is definitely the way you want to characterize them, I think that makes sense for them. I don't know how many units you're going to have, and like the army composition, the points and everything. This is all kind of just a example or an aim of an army rule mechanically. But you probably want your charge to be reliable or guaranteed. And I know army-wide, if you have multiple Grey Knight units dropping in, that could be oppressive. Or maybe instead you allow those targets which you mark, those key, ones you're trying to execute. Maybe you can deploy into engagement range like the Sanguinor. I think that's
that's pretty much what they do.
Yeah, because then you're taking away the variability out of it. Because, dude, there's nothing more narratively jarring than failing charges. And look, and if you're deep striking in multiple turns of a game, rounds 2 to 5 now in 10th edition, right? You fail a few deep strike charges on your Grey Knights. Well, you're probably doing enough that some get through and it doesn't feel terrible. There's probably some stratagems to increase the odds in different ways. But if it's like a 1 to 2 turn engagement for the Grey Knights in this interpretation of them, then I think you definitely want to guarantee that moment, right? You don't want it to come down and be like a wet noodle where it's like,
one of the other things is that they do teleport. They can teleport into engagement range and all that. But also, there is a rule going to be there called Psychic Burn-Off. So basically, after that one turn, the Grey Knights essentially lose all of their buffs. They go back down to normal. And they're because they've been so reckless in going into battle, they have -1 to their saves.
Okay.
So Terminator's now 3+, Space Marine's now 4+, and that only lasts for a turn. But like it's there. It's like a debuff for that one for the second turn they're on the field. And then basically they teleport away again. They're gone. Right? That's how it's going to work. So the Paladins come in, charge in, wreck face, fight, and then leave. This is what they do. And then they're gone.
And then you're stuck with the mortal force, which is hopefully the Grants have turned the tide by that point, right? Yeah, exactly. That's a fun design space to play in, and that would mechanically characterize them different from other armies, right? Because you don't really have.
I mean, your normal Grey Knights can still be on the field, like your usual Grey Knight,
like your strike
force.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they can still be on the field. They're very expensive. So you'd only want like maybe one unit of them, and they're going to hold down an objective. And they've got things like the Aegis that can give them a +1 to their save and things like that. So they can hold down objectives, do pretty well. You can only have them in squads of 5, not 10. So the lower number.
Yep.
Yeah. So in a 2,000 point army, you've got maybe 2, maybe 3 squads of 5, and that's it. The rest of it is all Imperial Guard, henchmen.
So it's the Paladin brick that exemplifies that idea of the...
Exactly, and characters.
Okay, yeah. And characters would be gone in 2 turns too. Paladins,
characters, your Castellan Crows. I think a guy like Crow would be on the battlefield, anyway. Purifiers coming down as well. They'd be another thing where this is where the complexity of the rules comes in, is who deep strikes and when. So Purifiers can stay on the field as long as they're within a certain range of enemy units. They're purifying them, basically, so they're still there. As soon as they're not in engagement range, the countdown starts. So like if they're not in engagement range for a turn, that's it, they're gone. They go back to the ship because they're psychos. They're purifying, like they just go in and their brains are burning away the enemy. If they're not in engagement range, or at least I think it may be within like 6 inches of an enemy somewhere, then the next turn they're gone.
Yeah, that's a fun design space. Then it forces you to keep them in threat range, and the enemy has like a very unique challenge to kind of play against, which is what you want. Like, you don't want every army feeling the same and every army having the same kinds of tools and same kinds of detachments. Like you'd want.
Well, my only problem with that, but I've been trying to. This is one of the rules that I've struggled to write. Is that what's stopping the enemy from gamifying it and saying, right, well, I'm going to move all my units away from that unit then to make it despawn. Right, so yeah, it's difficult.
Like they wouldn't be able to perceive that kind of outcome from falling. Well, like maybe you'd want to get away from them, narratively. If I am a chaos cultist, then and if I see grants dropping, I'd run. Yeah, you're running for your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe
I guess you could get past that by giving them like a free advance movement. You know what I mean? Like, so they always get like a free. Like, you can always move 12 inches.
Yeah, Purifiers aren't the ones that shunt, are they?
No, those are Interceptors.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so Interceptors are still good, but like then they're just normal Grey Knights with jump packs, which should be terrifying when you think about it.
Oh yeah,
but
it's like warp spiders in essence, right?
Yes. So I think the whole message of the Grey Knight should be fighting big nasty things and leaving because everything else is beneath us. It's beneath us. We're doing this.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the way you want to characterize them. How about it sounds like we've kind of ironed out at least the thematic and mechanical aim of the approach we would use. How about for stats? Do you have any stat issues with the Grey Knights? Like, do you like the army-wide 2-up armor save in 10th edition?
No. I think that's a lazy. How do I put this?
Like, it's compensating for no psychic, you think?
Yeah, it's a lazy way of saying, hey, they have the Aegis. And it's like, no. Like, no. Then what's Terminator armor for, then? Why are we bothering? If everyone's got a 2+ armor save, why are we bothering with the Paladins, then? You may as well just take all... Oh, God. Saves are a huge deal in 40k. The minute you start just saying... everybody gets a better save is just lazy. It just shows you haven't thought about it, That's why when I chose to do it in Exile Edition, I'm doing it for a turn and I'm making it worse.
Right.
It shows the narrative flow of the Grey Knights hitting the battlefield with all of their might, and then the turn afterwards they're like, oh, they're still really powerful, but they're like,
yeah, everything's on cooldown. I think that's cool.
Yeah, so like, there are ways to do it that make you the best video games and best any game really. When you're playing like a combative versus game, is it lets you role play the point where the dice rolls feel like you're doing that, It's why when you're in a Wild West RPG on tabletop, if you've got a revolver, you want 6 dice. Because you got 6 bullets. So you want to... It feels good. I'm rolling all of them. Why? I'm feathering this motherfucker. I'm doing it. And it feels amazing, And the same thing goes for Grey Knights as well. They should feel that way. The minute you start saying everyone gets a blanket 2+ save, that just shows me you haven't thought about the codex. You're just not bothered. You just go, right, give them all 2+ save. They won't complain about the lack of a psychic phase or that much psychic powers if we just give them this. And no, dude, like our 2+ save army-wide should be an Iron Hands thing for 1 turn. It should be like an army-wide buff that they get as their army thing, their army rule for a turn, right? Just refusing to die. 2+ save, across the board. Everyone gets... And Terminators reroll. So everyone in the Iron Hands army for 1 turn gets a 2+ save, and the characters and Terminators reroll their 2+ save.
Yeah, they will not yield that whole energy. Yeah, it fits them.
1 turn. 1 turn. You hit it, right? That's what we're doing. We're not going. We're staying here. We're going to die. You should feel like your army. That's the point. And I think that the biggest drawback of the Grey Knight's intent is you don't feel like a Grey Knight. You feel like nothing. You just feel like a Marine. I'm a Marine who has jump packs. I have 2+ save. I don't like it, and I just think the 2+ save thing is. Are people going to be surprised by that? They're going to be like, "What? You don't like it? I'm 2+ save?" No, I don't.
It's thematically, right? Like we're evaluating like these design choices not based on how potent they are and how well they serve you in winning a edition of a game, right? We're evaluating them based on their narrative, like how well they abstract the narrative.
Yes. Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I know Games Workshop are never going to do that, but we've gone over like a load of my points. I think I'm pretty much finished on my points now. So shall we concentrate on some of your points that you had for the Grey Knights? I know we just did one there with the save thing. But what do you think about the saves? You reckon it's a bit off?
So I think I hadn't considered the point you raised. So it definitely has moved the needle for me on that because I kind of looked at it at the start of the edition, like, 2-up armor save. Yeah, Grey Knights are more elite. They should be better than normal Space Marines. Like, I kind of gave it... That's as far as I thought about it when they initially kind of hyped that up at the start of 10th. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. But, yeah, you have a point, right? And then that's why I kind of, like, when I presented that... the save value of 2+ army-wide... that choice to you, I kind of was like, is it compensating for a lack of psychic? Like, I think that's the intuition I have. So... like, if it's better than nothing, and it's certainly mechanically good, but is it... You might be right that it is a little late. It's like a Band-Aid solution for lack of psychic defense.
That's
probably.
Exactly what I was trying to say. Yeah.
I mean, beyond that, I mean, what any other weird stat areas? I'm trying to follow the template loosely of my Sisters of Battle video, where it was like, look at the stats, any stat issues, and then go on to units after that. I guess like weapon profiles are obviously lacking for many factions, but Grey Knights. Okay, here's a question: do you prefer weapon diversity, like in terms of force weapons? Like each one should have a role, and
each one should have a completely different. Yep. Okay. So if I have dual falchions, I should have less strength, more attacks, right? If I have a halberd, I should have really high AP, but like average damage output. But I also should be able to get more attacks because I've got a halberd, right? I'm charging in with it and then I'm swinging it, that kind of a thing. In fact, I would give a halberd gets like 3 attacks on the charge because obviously you're holding it in front of you and stabbing it in. But when you're in combat, you only get 1 attack because it's big and cumbersome, and you're like, oh,
yeah, it's a big two-handed weapon. Yep.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Demon hammers are insane damage, average AP, but you only ever get 1 attack with it. That kind of a thing. So they should all be trade-offs, and you should be able to build your Grey Knights in a way. You should be able to have 10 demon hammers if you want. That's silly, and it's going to be really glass cannon, in terms of what it can do. Look,
if War Gear has points, then you kit them out with the War Gear. Like,
Yeah.
No, I'm on the same page with you on war gear. I mean, obviously, I think most people are on the same page about war gear, right? It's like everyone hurts that everyone is annoyed that it's missing. Everyone wants the choices they make and how they build their dudes to matter, right? No one likes all combi weapons being the same thing. It's so stupid, right? Even with the new salamanders thing, tangent, but like, okay, so now all the combi flamers can't work off of the torrent keyword that all of these mechanics are kind of trying to lean into, and it feels stupid now. Now any combi flamer, it's not working as it's not abstracting the narrative at all, right? But yeah, we can return back to Grey Knights.
No.
I think what you're describing in this war gear paradigm for all these different force weapons being kitted for certain tools actually also enhances this design choice of the army rule that you've come up with, or not the army rule, how you're characterizing paladins and characters, where they're only around for a very short window of time, or perhaps longer, depending on the unit and their specific restrictions, right? Whatever allows them to stick around. But yeah, if you're only around for a turn or two, the war gear choices you give need to hit home, right? You need to take the unit with the war gear they have and put it into the right targets to get the value, right? And that's why that's what war gear's about. It's like, oh, these guys have all melta guns. I know they're gonna go hunting tanks, right? That kind of idea.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's exactly. It's like what you said the other day. Like, I think it was in one of the Grim Dark Therapy episodes where you said, you know, they're not really your dudes anymore. Like, if you have your war gear and you kit out your Grey Knights to be a specific thing, they're your dudes again. Now, people will say, well, you can build them like that now if you want. You can have like 10 demon hammers in a force. They're just force weapons. No.
No.
Like, dude, like, you have a normal Grey Knight unit. I spent the money to get access to 10 demon hammers. We're not the fucking same. Right?
Yeah.
I should get some reward for that. Like, I should get some reward for my 10 demon hammers, god damn it.
Well, it should
especially
make
if they're
a
official
difference.
ones.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. From an in-world point of view, 100% I'm with you. But even on the tabletop, like narratively, like the weapons used by warriors should matter. Like to couch them all or to distill them all into just a generic force weapon. Look, the single librarian unit in Space Marines can kind of get away with that because it's just your one. Usually, it's just your one. But when your whole army has force weapons, of varying types, well, now that becomes a better flex for Grey Knights in contrast. What do you make of the psychic special heavy weapons and that kind of stuff? Are any of them characterized poorly, or they're all kind of like acting as they should? Would you say?
You mean psychic weapons?
Sorry, like no, I mean the silencers. Sorry, like I meant the special weapons that the Grey Knights have. Like I can't remember them too well because I don't play Grey Knights.
I think they should. So psychic. So shooting weapons of Grey Knights.
Like they have psychic infused bolters. Is that they're somewhat psychic related from what I can recall.
There's the silencer, the psi cannon. Yeah. So I would say the storm bolter is a storm bolter, and there should be a one or two special ones or a special war gear that you can give your dude, but that's about it. They're just storm bolters and they're really good. But I would also have anything silencer or psi cannons, they should all link into psychic powers that you have. So they should be pretty weak until you power them up, right? Until your guy, it's the psychic power that comes with the weapon that you've got to activate to turn it on, basically to really turn it on. And you can overcharge it too. So your psi cannon can basically ignore all cover, 'cause it's shooting through a wall, that kind of a thing. All of this, I love the idea of psychic bullets, like going to a wall, phasing out of reality on one side of the wall and then reappearing on the other side.
That's cool. It's a cool flex for a psyker, right? That's
what you want. So I would say, for a silencer it should be the only weapon in the Grey Knight armory that can do that. It can, so a Dread Knight can look at a wall and go, that wall's not there. Just shoots right through it, Or even one other thing I thought of doing was having the silencer, say you look at a wall, if that wall is within range of your gun, basically, you can shoot from that wall, right? So basically, what your Psyker is doing. He's shooting at the wall. It's going through the wall and then shooting from the wall into the enemy. So that kind of a thing. But it's a bit finicky because you'd have to measure it twice, which would be a bit finicky. But I'm slow the game down, which is something I thought would be pretty cool. But because ignoring all cover, making a war game is about introducing complexity where you want it to make your dudes feel like your dudes. The way Games Workshop fell down is that they introduced it across the board and said, okay, everything's more complex. No, we don't want that. And then, instead of just correcting it, they went completely the opposite direction. Said, well, all your war gear is meaningless, and this is what we're going to do. So with the Silencer, I know I'm probably going to make it just ignore the cover completely, because obviously it's going straight through. But I really want to do something different with it. I really want it to hit the... to phase in and out of reality. So maybe if you overpower it, you can shoot it from anywhere on the battlefield. Because so you're shooting psychic bullets into nothing. They just disappear out of the gun as soon as you fire them. But then they reappear somewhere else on the battlefield, go shooting into the enemy. That would be cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you've indicated a nice design space. I know we're talking just with examples and like loose concepts here, but yeah, that design space feels pretty rich for Grey Knights to exploit, like their war gear working in tandem with their canting, their incantations or whatever, right? Powering up their weapons and their silencers and psi cannons as well. That feels like a good design space for them.
Well, you don't need to have new psychic powers added to your... again, needless complexity would be me saying, there's this psychic power in this sanctic discipline that you need to do this to your weapons, and you got to go find it. No. It's there in the weapon profile, right? It's like astral ammunition or astral bolt. What does that do? It basically means I can fire this psi cannon, silencer, anywhere on the battlefield, and it ignores all cover.
Yeah, nice and simple. On the profile, it says the warp charge. That I imagine it's like a warp charge kind of thing to cast.
You cast it in the psychic phase, and then you put a marker on your model saying, he now has that, so I can fire anywhere on the battlefield. And away you go. You have to remember, but you're playing Grey Knights. You've only got 3 of them.
Yeah.
You should be remembering all these things.
And you're looking forward to it. They're not on the board all the time. Is it on? I don't know. Oh, it's on last turn, not this turn, right? It's like if you're setting up on turn 3, and this your go turn, it's go time. Yeah.
Well, because we got alternating activations too. Same facing you. And you can see 2 of my Dread Knights have that on. You'd be like, okay, priority targets, get rid of those guys. Because when the shooting phase comes, they're going to be a pain. So we need to get rid of them. It leans into that. You're not just putting it on and then going, right, I'm going to get this now. You're putting it on and going, right, now my opponent has a choice to make. Does he go for this unit or that unit? I've got Hammer Hand on this unit. I've got, Astral Ammo on these 2 units. Which tactical decision is he going to make? Which one of these units is he going to try and delete? And he's going to have to feel the pain from the others. That kind of a thing. That's how it should go, I don't know.
Oh, I like it. I'm trying to think of other stat areas, but nothing else is coming to mind. It's nothing else is obviously glaring to me in terms of stats or weapon profile characterizations.
Well, we missed out psychic powers. That's the big bugbear. That we don't have a psychic phase basically in 10th edition. Now, I kind of agree with the message of, hey, doesn't it suck that you have an entire phase that other people just don't get? Yep. Because I'm a man of taste and I collect Grey Knights and they don't. It sucks to be them. I want my psychic phase. Yeah. Same with Thousand Suns. You collect Thousand Suns. So why should your entire army be neutered because people get arsy that they have to sit there for what, 5 minutes whilst you do your psychic phase? What is this? So psychic phase should come back, absolutely. And if it doesn't, at least give your weapons psychic abilities or something like that to give the Grey Knight some extra.
Like a pseudo psychic test that you can do to power them up before you use them. Something to that effect at minimum. Yeah, that's reasonable. I think you're probably right on the money. Like the lack of psychic, obviously for an army like Grey Knights, is so core to their characterization. Not having it is going to have a lot of fallout consequences in how they feel. That's totally reasonable. I guess we can move on to look at my list here. We've done army rule solutions, army rule criticism, stats. I think it's just units is the only thing I had left on my list. There's an obvious unit that a lot of people dislike for Grey Knights. It's like super low hanging fruit. But is there anything other than the Dread Knight? Or are you pretty happy with how Grey Knights are depicted with their range? They don't have a lot of new models, right? It's usually just the obligatory character over the last few editions they've gotten.
If we're talking from what I do with them, then you don't need a lot of models. There should be like 5. But in terms of what they are now, no, because if you're having the Grey Knights as an entire force unto their own, the strength of the Grey Knight box sets used to be you could make any character you wanted from the Grey Knight, strike force, whatever it is, the Grey Knight strike team box.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
And the Paladins too from the Terminator box and characters and things. That was a real strength, but it also does limit your options in terms of what kind of Grey Knights you can have on the field at any one time. But the only thing I'd be campaigning for is something similar to what Space Marines have. But Grey Knights aren't normal Space Marines, so it kind of defeats the object. So,
with regards to what?
Well, the normal Primaris Marines have they have the Hellblasters, they have the Inceptors, they have they have all of these different units that can go in and they look different. They're in different boxes. They can do different things. Whereas the Grey Knights have, your strike team and your Paladins and a Dread Knight. And that's what you get basically. That's the backbone of your force. There's nothing else. So if I was going to do something, it'd be more along the lines of, if you give me carte blanche, I'm going to say Aspect Warriors style, right? So there should be a Fire Dragon equivalent. So Purifiers should have their own model line, right? There should be big dudes with massive flamers, and there should be a Predator tank, like a Primaris-sized Predator tank that they go in as a special thing that's got flamers on the side of it instead of cannons. We should have your Purifiers should be their own model line. They shouldn't just be normal Grey Knights with white helmets. They should be their own thing with robes and over their armor and
okay. Yeah, I see what you're
wielding
saying.
Halberds and shit. They should be they should look different, The Dread Knight needs a complete rework. Not even going to get into that.
Yeah, we can end on the Grey Knight, or the Dread Knight rather. But
I mean, not even going to get into that because we all know that needs a new model like yesterday. You got your Paladins and Terminators should not look the same. All right, they should look different. They should be in different boxes. They should look different. You have your Paladin force should be these more like smoothed edges. They're more robes everywhere, purity seals everywhere. They look like they've stepped out of a myth. And there's only 3 in a box if you're getting Paladins because they all I know that sounds stupid. You go, why are you taking away models? No. You've still got your Grey Knight Terminator box set elsewhere. But if you want Paladins, they're in this box, and there's specific models that look really good.
And of course, like to that fake criticism, or to that example criticism of what you're suggesting here, you can use your old models, right? There's nothing wrong with using your old models, people. You don't have to comply with the new model layout. I know GW, that's like an unspoken, they'll never say it, right? But you can use your old Terminators and your old Paladins. It's just a different formation, a different envision of the paradigm, right? But
exactly, yeah.
I like what you're describing here because Grey Knights seem much more apt for the hyper specialization than the standard Space Marines, right?
Yeah.
As you're describing Purifiers and just having a dedicated kit in the same way, like that Aspect Warrior template, I think it better serves the Grey Knights over standard Space Marines.
I was going to say, if you're going to specialize, then specialize. Yeah. Go for it. You know what I mean? Have your dudes be your dudes. Absolutely. I have pretty much covered all my bases here. I'm pretty much done. Like,
Yeah,
I've covered all the
same.
things I wanted to say.
Same for my side of the call. I guess one question around the Dread Knight. This is a thought I had. I figured I'd pose it to you, get your input. Do you suppose that the Dread Knight, I know it's like hate it or love it, people have mixed feelings on it, but do you suppose that the Dread Knight itself weakens the thematic heroic core of the of what the Grey Knights are trying to be about, right? Like Gandalf standing against a giant Balrog, right? Like a paladin standing against a bloodthirster, right? Like in choosing to say that, oh, the Grey Knights need this battle suit to take on terrible demons because greater demons are such a big deal, they need this battle suit. I feel like that's the justification GW uses for introducing these models, but we know from an in-world point of view, they want to introduce models to sell models, right? But thematically, I wonder if having the Grey Knights, having it so that they need this battle suit to take on greater demons, do you feel like that makes them less heroic, less dramatic, on the tabletop, right? You don't have the paladins standing in front of a bloodthirster. Now, don't worry, we have a big model to stand against a big model instead of the contrast between giant demon and heroic. Well, I know they're bigger than mortal men, but you know what I mean.
I'm going to be controversial. Sorry, guys. Close your ears. I know they're standing behind me on the shelf. I'd just delete Dread Knights from the game.
Yeah. I would too. I feel like that's a unit that more people would be like, oh, that's going to Legends? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Instead of fixing it, do you know what I'd do? I'd give that to I'd make it a bit smaller, and I'd give it to the Imperial Guard who come along for the ride.
Okay, for your Ordo Malleus support.
Yes.
Yeah,
so when they're going up
great.
against... So when they're going up against big demons, they've got this thing that can fight them. They'll probably lose. It's really cumbersome and shit.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
It works, and you don't have... It's still a baby carrier model because people like the baby carrier, so you still got a baby carrier model. But, like, it doesn't have a Grey Knight inside of it. It's a bit smaller.
Right.
And it's basically the size of a Sentinel, and that's what it does. It goes up against big demons, and 3 of them can hold up one of these things, and so the Grey Knights can come in and kill it or something, That's what I would do with it. But I'd get rid of the Grey Knights.
I like that a lot. I don't think that's controversial. I think you're good for it. Yeah, I think that's a tasteful choice.
Let's hope so.
That's to my preference, though. Yeah. I guess we're ready to wrap up. Yeah, all my points here are covered. So if you're good to wrap up, unless you have anything
I'm good to wrap up, man. Yeah, happy days. Happy days.
Right on. Well, thanks for collabing. Thanks for sharing your input on Grey Knights and, well, yeah, I think everyone knows going into them they're poorly characterized by the army rule, but this was a fun conversation and get some insight onto possible solutions. And I hope anyone who is listening thus far has kind of found it interesting and perhaps got some creative juices flowing on alternative rules, alternative solutions.
Yeah. I mean, this video is like 80% solution, which is nice. It's we all know what the problems are, so let's work on solving them together. Games Workshop aren't going to do it. Like, we know now that they've got no interest in giving us what we want, so we do it ourselves.
Well, basically, right? And I think people might perceive like, oh no, sometimes they fix things too, but we're wrapping up in here. I'm getting going again.
It's the broken clock argument.
Yeah,
it's the broken clock argument.
It's inbuilt failure. Designs with inbuilt failure, right? If they nail it in one edition, I bet you it's gone next edition, so that it can be added back in the next edition, right? Yeah, that's the rub.
Absolutely. Alrighty, well, thank you for joining us, folks. Kaifa's channel for my dudes. Kaifa's channel is in the description down below. Go check it out.
And vice versa. Check out Northern Exile. And we'll
catch
you guys on the next Grimdark Therapy.
Yeah, next Grimdark Therapy. I think it's is it not Macca's turn next?
It is. Yep.
I really apologize for suggesting that Horus Heresy book club, but it was just such a hilarious
No.
idea. I just had to do it.
It's just so daunting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I said over a year, maybe 2.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, I just like I said to the guys in Grimdark Therapy, we should read every Horus Heresy book and review them one by one over like a couple of years. So because then we can literally say, yeah, we read every single book.
We've covered it. The evidence, it's all there, guys. It's terrible. It's more bad than good. The good is good, but there's more bad than good. I feel like that'll just come out in the wash. But nobody does those sorts of analyses for novels, right? You get a lot of that for movies and shows, but it's visual, right?
That's the thing. Like, I want to hold them to a standard, and if I want to hold them to a standard, I've got to read them cover to cover. So let's do it. Like, I'm ready to go. But
I'm open to it. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, maybe we get some comments. Maybe put out a poll. Maybe we'll do some research. Figure it out. All right. Well,
all right, dudes.
Catch you later.
We'll see you later. Bye.
Well, that's a wrap on this collaborative hobby chat. If you enjoyed this video, there are buttons for liking, sharing, and subscribing. And as always, a special thanks to Julius Maximus, as well as my other generous patrons and channel members. Patrons and channel members get early access to videos. Just a little something for those who help keep the dream alive. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.